My name is Michael Mastro. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Vastucreations. Today we're going to look at the Saint Sri Anandamayi Ma chart. Very famous female saint in India. Uh, if you look using Vedic sidereal zodiac, if you look to the eastern horizon when she was born, you would see the constellation associated with Venus rising at 17 degrees. First, we're going to see how the planets were operating in her chart and then when they were operating during certain events and what could be done to strengthen the chart. But in this case, there wouldn't be much. But let's take a look. So, Sun. Now you'll see a lot of her planets are challenging or weak. Um, and it's interesting to see planetary influence for this type of person. You know, everyone, even famous people have difficult charts, but you know, it's how we deal with the hand we're giving, you know, like the planetary setup. And she definitely transcended it. Um, so challenging sun is at 17 degrees, close to the rising sign degree. It is ruling the house of health, and it is placed in the second house of wealth, fame, stability, and marriage. I would say that basically um, she utilized the powers of health and healing to help other people, to be a leader, spiritual leader, and heal many, many people. There's thousands of stories of people who were just in her presence that spontaneously got healed. Um, and that sun is not aspecting also the eighth house, exploring the deeper meaning of life. And actually, she teaches others about that as a leader. Then we have weak, debilitated moon. Moon is also close to the rising sign degree. And when you're close to the rising sign degree, it means that planet has a lot of influence, one way or another. So Moon is all about the public, and she was a public teacher of spiritual knowledge. Now, Moon rules the fifth house. That has to do with children. She had no children. So the aspect of the, you know, weak, debilitated moon. Not that she wanted children. She just, it wasn't her destiny to have children. Her destiny was to be a spiritual leader, not a householder with children. So then Mercury is weak. It's at 0 degrees. Any planet that's less than um, 5 degrees is said to be an infant state, and infants can't protect or promote their own significations or can take care of us. So um, Mercury is ruling the marriage house, and it's placed in the house of success. So she was in a arranged marriage, but it was never consummated. And her husband realized early on that his wife was not a normal wife, and became her biggest devotee, actually. Um, Even just the thought of making love with his wife basically went out of his head, was not a possibility. So then there's a weak dispositor, Jupiter. Jupiter is ruling the career house, and her career was through teaching spiritual knowledge. Jupiter has to do with spiritual knowledge. Um, and also, it is the indicator for children. Again, she had no children. And one of her things that she was teaching her disciples is that you are not the doer, that divine is always working through us if you open yourself to the divine. Challenging Venus. Venus is ruling any Multicona sign in the sixth, eighth, or the 12th can cause challenges. Not necessarily in this chart specifically, but can. So in the sixth house, we had the fifth sign of Leo ruled by Sun. So that's why we said Sun could be challenging. And then here, the seventh sign of Libra ruled by Venus is in the eighth house. So this gave her a strong ability to be a healer. Venus has to do with healing. Um, the eighth house has to do with astrology, healing modalities, um, Vastu. So, and that Venus is placed in her first house. So her personal presence was healing for many people just to be in her presence. She often said, "Remember, grace is always already here. You don't have to search for grace." Challenging Saturn. Saturn. Okay, so in the 12th house, we see the 11th sign of Aquarius ruled by Saturn. So Saturn is placed in the eighth house. So it's like the 12th house is the house of enlightenment. She and it's placed in the eighth house, searching for the deeper meaning of life. So she was already there, basically. Um, and other things that she would say is, whatever you resist will persist. Don't resist life. Everything is divine. Make space for silence. Live simply. All of those can go along with Saturn ruling that 12th house. Then challenging Rahu K2, balancing spiritual and material. Um, Everything in her life was spiritual. She said, whatever comes, let it come. Whatever goes, let it go. And whatever remains is. Be in the present moment, always. So looking at the timing of events, um, in 1908, she was entered her arranged marriage. Um, that's during a Mercury period, Mercury ruling the house of marriage. She did her own spiritual initiation in 1922 during a Venus period, which was highly transformative for her. Eighth house is the house of transformation. And then she died in 1982 during a K2 period, K2 endings and enlightenment. Um, if you look at the transit chart on the left, the outer circles where the planets were when she died, the inner circles where the planets were when she was born. Um, it's interesting to see that Rahu and K2 are at the most effective point, and they are afflicting six out of her eighth house, specifically the house of health, the sixth house of health, the eighth house of death-like experiences, and the 12th house of end of life. So basically, any weakness in her chart was transformed by her service. Her whole life was about helping others, being in a state of service. So very powerful chart, very interesting. Thank you guys for listening. If you'd like to get a reading, you could go to vastucreations.com, or if you'd like to learn Vedic astrology as well, we have classes.